Think about this. You're planning to go to an amusement park. You want to go on roller coasters. You want to have the ride of your life. And you've been planning this trip for so long. And while you're planning, you've been watching videos on YouTube, watching videos on Instagram of this particular park that you've decided to go to. And you're really like, you have your heart set on a particular ride you want to go on, because from all the things you've seen on the internet, that is the ride to go for. The adrenaline pump, the way people are screaming on it, you just know that that's the one you want to go because you really want to maximize your time at the park. But when you got to the park, you realize as you got closer to this particular ride that you've longed to get on for days and for weeks and months, you heard the screams and your heart shook. You're like, I really wanted to do this, but I'm not sure this is the right for me. Because after hearing how people were screaming, it occurred to you that maybe it was one thing to watch this thing on YouTube, to watch it on Instagram, but it's another thing to actually be the one seated in that seat and screaming like that. But then as you started thinking about that, you realized that even if you wanted to write, even if you wanted to do this thing, yesterday you sprained your back lifting weight. You went to the gym and just a slight sprain. It wasn't anything much. And then it was just as you were hearing the scream that you realized that even if I wanted to get on this ride, maybe I should think about my back. Maybe this is not the best ride for me. And you might be wondering, what has this got to do with financial planning? Stay with me and I will explain to you what this has got to do with your financial planning, with your investment journey. Hello and welcome back to the Moneymatics Podcast. As you know, on this show we talk about all things money, financial growth, investment, everything you need to know about money, about multiplying, about growing your wealth. We talk about all things money, especially for Africans living in diaspora, especially for Africans living in Europe. And on today's show, we're talking risk. There is no investment without risk. And on today's show, I want to talk about 3 concepts as it relates to risk that sometimes we don't understand very well and that can lead us into investing in things that do not align with us, align with our values, align with what we really want, align with what we are able to take. And so today we're talking about risk appetite, risk tolerance, and your risk capacity. These are terms that are usually used interchangeably sometimes, but they have very nuanced differences, and I want to talk about those nuances today. So remember the story we started with about you going to the park and you really wanted to ride that ride that you've seen and everybody was talking about. That can be your risk appetite. You've heard about different forms of investment. You've heard about real estate and you've heard about startups and you've heard about crypto, and so you have an appetite, you want to invest, or maybe you're young and you just feel like, let's go do this, let's put it in, it's going to be times 10, and you're very eager and energized. That is your risk appetite. It talks about the emotional side of things, what you think that you are able to invest in, what do you think, the risk that you think you are able to take when it comes to an investment. Imagine a bowl of curry. You go to a restaurant, you want to order curry, and you're like, I'm going to take that one that has the 5 chili signs because I really want it hot. I really need it to be hot. I've been feeling like, it's like you want to order pepper soup and you're like, I really want pepper soup. I want the pepper to be peppery. But then when you got the bowl of pepper soup, you realize that you took the first spoon and you're like, no, this pepper soup is going to kill me. I need water. I need a jug of milk. Your risk appetite is really your emotional side of, this is what I want. But for that, a lot of things can affect your risk appetite. Your age, where you are in life, how you're feeling that day. It can affect how the risk you're willing to take. Risk appetite is really how comfortable you are psychologically, emotionally, when you think about your investment. And for most times we talk about risk appetite being higher for people that are younger. People that are younger tend to be more open to taking risks. We want to jump on the next investment. We want to do this. And so we have more energy to take risk, and we also have time on our side, because if something goes wrong, we have time to recover from that loss. And so that your risk appetite really talks about the emotional side of things. You remember when you got to the park and then you heard the screams and the shouts, and then you realized that I really wanted to do that, but maybe I won't be doing that. That is just like your risk tolerance. Or maybe when you have that bowl of pepper soup in front of you and you take the spoon and you realize that I need like a jug of water to drink this this pepper soup. That is your risk tolerance. It describes to an extent the emotional or psychological risk you're willing to take when you make an investment. How much are you able to endure the ups and downs when it comes to investment? That is your risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is your ability to sit calmly in the boat when there are ups and downs. There are factors that definitely play into this. Factors like your age, where you are in life, factors like if you have another income that you can use to support yourself while you take on this investment. These are factors that can affect your risk tolerance. Your level of responsibility as a young person who has not started working, who has not started having a family. I mean, you have a job, you have all of that, but you don't have responsibilities. You are able to actually tolerate a level of risk, because if your investment goes in your face, you can drink Gary alone. You can just drink your Gary in your house. But when you have a wife, or you have a husband, or you have a family, you have kids that depend on you, aged parents that depend on you for their own livelihood, you cannot be taking risk anyhow. That can also affect your risk tolerance. Another thing that can affect your risk tolerance is also the market, how things are generally, the economy, what are the things that are going on in the society. Another thing that can affect your risk tolerance can also be your time span for the investment. So if you're investing for the next 10 years, there are investments that you can't do because they need more time. If you're investing for the next 20 years, there are investments that all of a sudden open up to you because you have more time on you. And so that can also affect your risk tolerance. Now, let's talk about risk capacity. This is the actual risk you are able to take based on your finances, based on the money that you have with you, based on different factors. That is like your back telling you that even if you wanted to ride, even if you overcame the psychological trauma of hearing other people shout, you probably can't get on that ride because of your back. You might want to jump up, you might want to ride, but your back is telling you there's a limitation. Risk capacity is numbers, hard numbers, no emotions, no desires. It's hard numbers. It's really about what your finances can take without you jeopardizing your financial situation, without you jeopardizing your financial life. Because not all investments are built the same, and not everyone will invest the same way. This is you really getting pen to paper and calculating. If I lose money, how much risk am I able with my pocket? It's not just in my head, not just about my desires, not just about my projections, but in essence, if something should happen with this investment, how much risk can I absorb? And so we start talking about factors like your net worth. How much properties do you own? How much value do you already have? If you invest in something and it boomerangs or it doesn't work, how much of that loss can I absorb without going back to zero? This is hard numbers. These are facts. These are not emotions. This is not your emotion. Your risk capacity is the actual, in numbers, the actual risk that you are able to absorb. Another thing that can affect your risk capacity is, like I said before, even the time. What are you investing for? How long is the investment plan for? Are you investing for 5 years? Are you investing for 10 years? Are you investing for 20 years? That is also hard facts. If you are 50 and you hope to retire at 65, you have 15 years to plan. These are numbers that can help you to arrange what you are investing in. We're talking your net worth in terms of your assets. Remember the last episode, we're talking about assets and liabilities. So your net worth, do you have more assets than liabilities, or do you already have more liabilities than assets? Those are things that play into your risk capacity. Remember I mentioned that your risk tolerance can be affected by your time, but in this case, we're getting to the numbers. How long are you investing for? 10 years, 20 years, 25 years? How much risk are you able to take in the time that you have without jeopardizing your financial stability? So risk capacity is really about the numbers. It's about, I want the bowl of pepper soup. and maybe I take it and my stomach can't really, and I need water. That's risk tolerance. But if you have ulcer, that is your risk capacity. You cannot eat that bowl of pepper soup, no matter how much milk you thought you could drink before. But if you have stomach ulcer, that sets a limit. So your risk capacity is really what sets a limit to what risk you should be taking. Now, let's tie this up nicely. A lot of times, many of us have risk appetites that are way beyond our risk capacity. We have risk appetites for things that are, out there. We've heard how much they can bring, and so we're like, oh, that's what I want. But we're not thinking about where we are in life. We're not thinking about the things that the people that are depending on us. You're not thinking about your wife, your children, your husband. You're not thinking about your parents. We're not thinking about how long we're working, what our job is like, what is the stability of that job, and so we might be making decisions that are not right for us. Understanding the concept of risk appetite, risk tolerance, and risk capacity is really something that would help you to know what you should be investing in, how much you should be investing in different types of investment opportunities or in different forms of investment vehicles, and what you are able to do per time based on what your investment plan or your investment goals are. So I hope by listening you've understood the concept of risk appetite, risk tolerance, and risk capacity. So the next time somebody tells you come and invest in this and is your friend, you have to think, am I able to invest like this person? You could have your friend, maybe she has a substantial pile of savings and investment from time past. She has a higher net worth. She might be able to invest $20,000 in something because she has $100,000 sitting somewhere else, and she can easily, if that $100,000 disappears, she can easily just say, oh well, life happens, and move on. But you want to jump on the same type of investment, you do not have any savings, or you have very limited savings, you have a lot of debt, and you have a family, you have kids, you have aged parents, and you cannot afford to lose that $20,000. That is not the time for you to jump on that kind of investment. And this is something that happens to a lot of Africans. A friend calls you and tells you, this investment, we need to do it. But you do not take time to analyze your risk tolerance or your risk capacity. You just jump on it because your friend is doing that investment, you've heard that it is good, and before you know it, money is lost, money is gone, and you're back to square one, having to review your life again. So you really need to be thinking about your risk tolerance and your risk capacity beyond the monetary value. If you do not understand your risk tolerance as well, you will invest in something with another friend. They will sleep at night and you will be there, looking at the ceiling and just praying and hoping when you hear of things going on with this investment. That also should be factored in because we all have different levels of risk tolerance. So, just the same way you see somebody eating a bowl of pepper soup and you're like, let me try it. You can't. I have a friend, I don't dare, because the kind of pepper she eats, she knows herself. The kind of pepper she eats, I'm going to be sitting there, just, and she's just like sipping it, having fun. It's the same thing. The next time you're thinking of jumping on an investment wagon, think of pepper soup. Think of pepper soup and ask yourself, am I able to drink this pepper soup? Am I able to invest in this thing? So all jokes apart, I really want you to understand the concept of risk so that it guides you when it comes to investment. Depending on your time horizon for your investment, your risk tolerance might be different, your risk capacity might be different. And again, depending on where you are in life, you might be able to take more risk than you are taking right now, or to take lesser risk than you are taking right now. You really need to be analyzing. If you're young and you have a good income and you have time on your hands, you are probably better off taking a little bit more risk so that you can get returns, because if something happens, you have more time to recover. If you're older, that's not the time to start jumping on things that have high volatility, because now you're nearing retirement and you really need to be thinking of slowing it down, keeping your money in something that is stable for the meantime. And so these are things that we need to understand when it comes to investment. And I hope that by listening to this episode, you have understood this concept to an extent. And if you're new here, Make sure you join the community. Click on that subscribe button, click on that notification button, and join the community. And I want you to do something for me. I want you to leave a comment. Share in the comment section a time where your risk appetite and your risk tolerance or your risk capacity have not aligned and you've learned from it, or a time where maybe you have aligned your risk appetite with your risk capacity and it has helped you to make good and dependable financial decisions. I want you to share. Let's share together. Let other people in the community learn from you. Like I said before, I am also on this journey, learning every day, reanalyzing every day, re-strategizing every day. When I started investing in, businesses and things like startups and things. And now I'm rethinking it like, oh, maybe I need to be seeing my money in ETFs where I can see it growing and it's not just in the hope and all of that. So it helps you to also balance your portfolio. You can look, oh, maybe I'm taking too much risk compared to what I'm able to take on, or maybe I'm taking too little risk compared to what I'm actually able to take on, and this can really help to boost your investment strategy overall. So to wrap this all up, I hope that the next time you want to make an investment, you think about your risk appetite, but you also consider your risk tolerance, and then you apply your risk capacity to know if that investment is worth your while or not. And until I come your way again, this is the Moneymatics Podcast. See you later.